Oh, hey, and welcome to the start of another reading vlog. So I recently read a couple of books that I had picked up at little free libraries. We're incredibly lucky to have a really good handful of little free libraries in walking distance from the house. And so and we love going on long walks. There are a bunch of trails through the woods around here. So we really love going on long walks, and so it's become a ton of fun to take those walks as opportunities to visit some different little free libraries in the area. And I recently read a couple of books that I picked up from little free libraries, and I thought it would be fun to talk about those. There's another book that I could read for this vlog that I have picked up at a little free library recently, and so I figured it could be fun to talk about the first two that I've read. When I read the third one, talk about that one, but then also take you along on one of these walks or several of these walks, depending on how many I find at one time. But to take you on a little free library tour of the ones that are around here and pick up some more, and then have another reading vlog where I read those and just kind of continue a cycle of vlogs where I read books that I pick up from little free libraries. So I thought that would be fun. So let me talk about the first couple that I've read here. One is The Invitation, and this is by Rachel Abbott. This one follows a group of friends, and something has happened a year ago. Two of the characters got married a year ago, or were set to get married a year ago, and then something tragic happened, and someone in this group died, or someone associated with this group died a year ago when this wedding was supposed to happen. So you follow the events of kind of the lead up to what happened there, and then you also follow them a year later when the person who owned the house that they went to and was one of the ones that was getting married, he has invited everyone back a year later, and they think it's to kind of celebrate and commemorate both the life of the person who had passed away and the marriage. So those two did end up getting married. And so, they thought it was kind of a mix of those two things, but they weren't really sure why he invited everyone back. And when everyone gets back, it becomes clear that his intentions are not quite what they expected. He thinks not that the person who died, his sister, died by accident, but he thinks that someone murdered them, and he thinks that the person who murdered them is in that larger group and part of the group that came a year ago for their wedding. And so he wants to figure out who killed his sister and to take matters into his own hands. And it was fun. It was super fun. I didn't quite realize, based on the description, I didn't quite realize that there's also, so it kind of jumps around slightly. It's mostly from our main character Gemma's perspective, who is marrying into, or has married into, this group, and her husband Matt is the person who's kind of been friends with the person who was married a year ago, has been friends with him for a long time. So she's kind of married into this group, and so it's mostly from her perspective, but you're also following from some other perspectives as well. And one thing I didn't realize when I originally picked it up was that one of the perspectives is a detective that actually gets kind of involved in what's going on. And so if you're not a fan at all of detective perspectives, just to note that is a perspective here. I don't feel like it's a major, it is she's an important part of particularly the second half of the book. But, if you don't want detective perspectives at all in your thrillers or mysteries, then just to note that is actually part of what happens here. But I think even if you don't, I still feel like if you're okay with detective perspectives, I still feel like you could really enjoy this one because most of it follows Gemma, realizing that the person who has invited them all back isn't just here to commemorate the life of his sister or celebrate their 1-year anniversary of the wedding, that there's something he suspects more sinister that happened, and that he's going to play some cruel games to get to the bottom of what happened. And so some weird things start to happen as he announces that there's going to be this game that he wants them all to play. And so some creepy, weird things start happening, and it was fun. It was just fun. And I did also listen to the audiobook, and I really enjoyed the narrator as well. So yeah, she's also trying to figure out and is concerned that a secret that... So in the last year, Gemma and Matt's relationship has kind of taken some steps back, and so part of it too is she's trying to figure out if he's harboring any secrets that have to do with what happened a year ago. And so that's also part of what's going on here. But anyway, it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. I also have read Meet Me at the Cupcake Cafe, and this is by Jenny Colgan. So this one is basically a contemporary version of Legends and Lattes. So it doesn't quite reach the cozy, heartwarming vibes that Legends and Lattes did for me. But if you enjoy that story and you want kind of a contemporary version of that, this could be an option to explore. So this one follows our main character, Izzy. And Izzy is laid off from her job, kind of loses a relationship, basically all at once. So she's going through some transitions, and she takes the severance money that she was offered from her company and decides to go for it and open a cupcake cafe in kind of a tucked away little corner that has had a fair number of businesses come through there and not succeed. And so it, basically I say it's kind of a contemporary version of Legends and Lattes because the plot here is it's not very complex. The stakes are not very high. You are following the day-to-day activities of Izzy, realizing that she wants to make a change in her life, realizing that what she is actually passionate about and what she wants to do is bake, and realize that owning a cafe is what really is going to make her heart sing, even if she's going to be putting a ton of work into it and it's going to be a lot more difficult than she thought it would be. It's really what's going to make her happy. And so you're following her finding this location, getting a bank loan, renovating the space to make it the cafe that she wants it to be, getting the equipment that she needs, hiring staff, building a relationship with the community. So a lot of these elements are the kind of day-to-day elements that you see in Legends and Lattes as the main character there, Viv, is opening up a coffee shop. So it's very much the same kind of feel in terms of it is, the stakes are low here. Well, for the character, this is her life and this is what she's fighting to achieve. And so to her, the stakes are very real. But, in terms of the larger world, it's just the day-to-day activities of someone starting a cafe and trying to make it succeed, and learning some things about what she wants out of life, realizing that this really is what she wants. I mean, it's always a risk, right? Like, it's a huge risk to try to do something like that. And so you're following her try to figure out whether it is a risk that paid off, and what she does along the way to make her business succeed, and the people she meets along the way. And she's realizing some things about her relationship and what she wants out of a future relationship, and just realizes some things about her life. And that's the story. It's nothing more complex than that. And I think the difference here too is that I felt more attached to the characters in Legends and Lattes. So the writing style is very simple, easy to get into. So I very quickly fell into the story and just kind of the day-to-day rhythms of Izzy's life. And her grandfather is not doing well health-wise, and so she's also going through that. But yeah, it's just following someone's life as they decide to open a shop. And the plot doesn't really get much more complex or high stakes than that. But if that's the kind of just cozy, simple story that you're looking for, sweet, cozy, simple story, would recommend. It was a lot of fun. And as I said, the writing, I feel like, made me feel a little bit more detached from what was going on than in Legends and Lattes, but I still had a great time. So anyway, yeah, there's another book that I recently acquired from a Little Free Library. So once I read that, I will check in, and then we'll see if we can't find some more books from a Little Free Library. I have some that I can donate as well, so I just kind of keep a stash of books that I want to donate and could very easily donate to a Little Free Library, so that when I do find something, I can always pop that in an exchange. So yeah, we'll go on some Little Free Library adventures and read some good books. So here to wrap up this vlog, the final book I'm going to talk about for this vlog is The Glorious Guinness Girls by Emily Hurricane. And this one I ended up actually DNFing halfway through. I didn't finish it. And ultimately I was just kind of bored. And, at first I'm interested in some of what's going on, but it just got to the point where I just didn't particularly care to follow what happened next. And so, it is what it is, but this one can go back to a Little Free Library, and hopefully someone else can enjoy it more than I did. And in this one, you're following Fliss, whose mother can't really take care of her, but she is able to kind of grow up as a companion to, raised by the Guinness family. And so she still has some relationship with her family, including her brother, who is mostly at school, but she kind of grows up with the three Guinness girls and is around the age of one of them. Another one of them is a bit older, so she sees a bit less of that sister, that Guinness sister. But essentially Fliss just kind of grows up with them, and she isn't, one of the Guinness girls. So she's not one of the family. She's not going to come out or, have a season, whatever the proper term is. So she's not going to be part of high society, but she is in a unique position in that she is friends with these daughters, or friends with these sisters, and, can kind of go between them and high society, but also, can kind of go between them as well as the type of people, or the group of people who might be, working as serving staff for the Guinness family, or kind of working in service. And so she's kind of in this weird in-between, and can kind of figure out some unique things, or kind of has a unique perspective because of that. And her brother, this is in the 20s in Ireland, and so there's a lot going on at that time just in the world in that area. And so Fliss is kind of, in some ways doesn't really feel like she's involved, because she's kind of protected from some of that by being part, or kind of in the Guinness world. But her brother very much is involved in trying to make things more equal for people. And so there's kind of a struggle. Another thing that she's kind of in between is, in the world of this glitzy, rich, glamorous family, but also knowing and loving her brother, who, neither of them come from those kind of roots, And she very much has sympathies for wanting to make sure that everyone has a basic quality of life, and kind of the tensions between different groups. So definitely a very interesting premise, and I just didn't end up being sucked in or kind of really caring what happened next, and just ended up kind of being a little bit bored and wanting to DNF it. So, again, you win some, you lose some, but the plan for future vlogs like this is that I will also take you along finding books at Little Free Libraries. So I will be returning this one. The other two that I read for this vlog I will probably keep, but there are always books that I have on hand that I keep in a separate cabinet area in our room that are either ready to sell or ready to be donated. And so I'm sure I'll be at it again, going to some Little Free Libraries, or some clips. I think I'll focus on the future when I'm finding books at a Little Free Library. I'll make sure to at least get some footage on my phone at the very least, and have future ones like this include footage of me at the Little Free Library going through and finding something I might be interested in reading, and then reviewing the books as I read them. So hopefully the future ones will be kind of incorporate that as well, and won't just be me talking about a few books, but hopefully we'll include some other clips as well. But yeah, so look forward to that. Subscribe for more bookish content, and subscribe to hopefully see future editions where I do go around to Little Free Libraries and exchange some books and have some new adventures. And I always love going to them. You just never know what you're gonna find. Anyway, so subscribe to see future episodes of this vlog series, and thank you so much for watching. I will link information down below, including my social information about how you can support the Black Lives Matter movement, and I will see you in the next one. Bye everyone.